cultural competency, it is the ability to effectively interact, work, develop meaningful relationships with people of various cultural backgrounds. So essentially, cultural backgrounds come from various beliefs, customs, behaviors from various groups. And we know that through anthropology and sociology that every group has its own thing.
And I have colleagues who, may identify as Canadian and say, I grew up without culture. That's not true. If you were part of a society, if you are around people with shared values, shared histories, shared beliefs, you are a part of a culture, which means that cultural competence it's just as important to understand the culture that you are bringing to the table as much as other people's cultures and cultures that are different to yours.
A lot of times what happens with people who are learning these things, they're reading textbooks, they're hearing stories, but actually the biggest impact you can make is getting around people that don't look like you. And I think that's actually one of the best ways to tackle cultural competency.
And law is a business sector, an economic sector, and everybody who's in business has to be able to deal with their clients and customers. And so there's always that need to be able to connect with people on a human level. Law is different from other business sectors in that we're a regulated profession. So the law societies of every provincial and territorial jurisdiction have rules about competence. And competence requires that we're able to communicate with our clients.
Well.
For example,
I think firms should make sure that they're assigning racialized lawyers, mentors who, yes, can understand their culture. So maybe assign them one mentor, if possible, who shares a similar heritage.
And that these cultures influence our ideas, our perspectives, and our experiences that, we bring, for example, to the workplace. Now, cultural awareness also leaves things a little bit ambiguous as far as how we interact with our different cultures.
But don't necessarily assume the worst of the organizational leadership. They may be somewhat clueless, they may be clumsy, mistakes can be made, but don't assume that they're completely cynical, particularly in the legal profession. People became lawyers. If you think about everyone's personal statement they wrote in entering law school, we were a pretty idealistic bunch. And the leadership of law firms is still a pretty idealistic bunch, as much as they have to, they're subject to and they're accountable to the bottom line economically. They didn't just enter business, they entered the legal profession because they wanted to do good things in the world.